Hello, friends, and welcome back to Alan's Sourdough Adventures. If you've been struggling with sticky dough and difficult shaping or flat loaves, today's video may be exactly what you need. One of the biggest mistakes many beginners make is starting with a dough that has too much water. That's why today we're talking about why 60% hydration makes better sourdough for beginners. At 60% hydration, the dough is easier to mix, easier to handle, easier to shape, and much more forgiving while you're learning the basics of sourdough baking. You can focus on building confidence without fighting a wet, sticky dough every step of the way. Today, I'll be showing you a simple sourdough recipe that uses 500 grams of flour, 300 grams of water, 100 grams active sourdough starter, and 10 grams of salt. We'll walk through the process together. And by the end of this video, you'll see that you don't need a complicated recipe or a super hydration dough to bake beautiful homemade sour bread. So grab your ingredients and let's get started on another sourdough adventure. Well, we're going to get started and we're going to mix our ingredients, create our dough. And this is going to be, at least to me, it's exciting. Let's get started by weighing out 300 grams of warm water into the mixing bowl. Now, I want to let you know that I like my water to be between 85 and 90 degrees Fahrenheit. You see, warm water helps wake up the starter and gets the fermentation process moving. So let's go ahead and weigh out our water. And we do need a kitchen scale for this. So we need 300 grams of water. We're up to 275 grams now. 289, 294, 302. Now, 2 grams isn't going to make enough difference to cause any harm to our dough. We want to put this water into the bowl. And next we want to weigh out 100 grams of sourdough starter. And we'll add it to the bowl with the water. So here's my starter. You can see it's full, and actually it's run over just a little bit. And we'll put the bowl up here on the scale, and we'll tare it so we'll be able to weigh out the starter. Oops, got a little too much. And I'm a little bit sloppy today. Look at that. So, and our starter is floating, so that's a good that lets us know that it's good. Still got a little too much starter in it, and you see it's easy to correct. There, got 102 grams of starter in it now, which that doesn't hurt anything either to have just 2 grams extra. Now we're going to bring the bowl down off the scale, because we want to stir it now. So you can use a large spoon if you don't have a Danish whisk like mine, and but you want to stir the water and the starter together real good. And you know it's to the point that you want when it looks almost like milky water with a little bit of lumps in it. Okay, that's good. Next, we want to weigh out 500 grams of flour, and this jug of flour is really heavy. So we'll put our bowl back on top, tear it again so it starts at 0. And I wear this apron most of the time because of stuff like that. I get flour all over me when I'm doing this. That's 68 grams. $161. 261. 356. 434. And now we need to be a little bit more careful because we're closing in on it. 480. 494. 498. Just need a little bit more. 500 grams right on the nose. Now, I want you to know that we don't want to do anything with our batter at this time because we still need to add our salt. So let's weigh our salt out. Don't forget to tear the scale. That's a funny term as far as I'm concerned. How can you tear a scale like this? But that's what the term that they use. Okay, 10 grams of salt. 1, 2, 3, 4. Still 4. 5. 6. 8. 9. Still 9. And it's on 10. This is my wife's fancy salt shaker. Not really a shaker, it's just a box. Okay, now we can get our scale completely out of the way because we know we have the correct amount of salt in here. And what we want to do is just spread the salt out all over the flour because we don't want it in one spot. To answer a question you might be thinking of as far as what kind of salt you use, I use fine sea salt, but any type of salt will work as long as it does not have chlorine in it or iodine. So you want to use your spoon or your Danish whisk to begin combining all the ingredients, and you want to mix until most of the flour disappears. Well, I've done as much as I can with the whisk, and now I'm going to spray a little bit of water on my hands because I want to get all the dough off that's collected on the whisk. I usually have a scraper here with me, which I don't have right now. Try the spatula. I don't know if it'll do as good a job or not, but we'll make do with what we have, right? Because you don't want to lose any more dough than what you have to. And it doesn't matter whether you use a spoon to stir or a Danish whisk or whatever, you're going to end up losing a little bit of your dough. Well, that's about as good as I'm going to get, it looks like. Anyway, once you've done all you can do with your spoon or your whisk, set them aside and use your hands to finish the dough up. And again, you want to use water on your hands. When the dough's in this state, it doesn't help a whole lot, but it helps a little bit. But you need to get your hands in the dough so you can feel what's happening to it. So you make sure you got everything mixed up. And as you can maybe see, I splashed some flour up because it wasn't completely mixed in yet. And your your dough isn't going to look real good at first because it's just flour and water. It hasn't started fermenting yet, and it hasn't started developing the gluten yet. So it's what you see here is what we call shaggy dough. I'll try to make just a lump of the shaggy dough right in the middle of the bowl. Pretty well got all the flour mixed up as well as we can. And in doing so, we've got the salt mixed up, we've got the starter mixed up, we've got the flour mixed up. It's ready for the gluten now to start working. So that's what it looks like. Just shaggy dough. And you can see I didn't get a whole lot of dough on my hand, or hands, whatever you want to call it. But now the dough needs to rest so it can start working. We don't have to work it. It'll work itself at this point. And so you can use a tea towel to cover up your bowl, or like I'm using a disposable shower cap that we bought at Dollar Tree. That's right, Dollar Tree's good for some things. And these disposable shower caps work wonders. I'll be back in a few minutes. We need to let the dough rest for 30 minutes so that it will do what it's supposed to do. Now it's time to start working with our dough and building more strength. Before we do that, we need to uncover our dough, and you'll see a measurable difference in it already. And then you'll only use one hand on this. And I don't know how I'm going to show it to you. Spray your fingers down because you want to use your fingers and not the palm of your hand. Well, I hope you can see it on me like this, because that's the only way I can do it. We're going to slap our dough against the side of the bowl. We'll do it a number of times here, and then we'll move our dough like I'm doing here, and we're going to slap it some more. Now, if the dough starts sticking to your fingers, and it's, again, your fingers is all supposed to make contact here. But you want to slap it just like I'm slapping it. And we need to do this for 8 minutes. And I don't know why this step works, but it does. And your arm's going to get tired. You may have to stop and rest for a little bit. And return the bowl and pull your dough down, because you want to get it on all sides of the dough. And you want to wear your arm out. You don't want to stop before the 8 minutes. Unless you intend to start all over. Not start all over, but start up again. This step does not work properly unless it's done for 8 minutes. Now I'm going to have to get a little bit of water here. My hands are drying out. Still got almost 6 minutes to go. It's perhaps the shortest part of this lesson, and yet it sure feels longest. Five minutes. My arm is so tired already. My nose itches. Four minutes. Minutes. Remember, just your fingers are supposed to be touching your dough. Two minutes. This is the hardest part of this simple recipe. The thing is, it works. And a lot of sourdoughs fail because they do not use this step. One minute. And you'll see it's just a different consistency here now. Cover it up with your tea towel or with a disposable shower cap like I do. And we're going to let it go for 20 minutes. Let it rest that long. And our next step actually comes in 4 parts. But it's a lot easier than this one is. See you in 20 minutes. Well, we're beginning step number 3 now, which is further strengthening our dough. Now this step is divided into 4 different sessions with a 30-minute rest period between each session. And as before, we'll start by uncovering our bowl and wetting the hand that we're going to use on the dough. Now you want to, since you're with your hand wet, you want to reach down into the bowl and grab some dough. And you can tell here that the dough is definitely changing. So I pull it away from the bowl a little bit, grabbing it with my fingers and stretching. You don't want to stretch it until it breaks, just until it lets you know it doesn't want to stretch any further. Then fold it over. Turn your bowl 1/4 turn. Do the same thing again. Stretch and fold. Turn your bowl 1/4 turn again. Stretch and fold. Turn your bowl again. 1/4 turn. Stretch. Fold. 1/4 again. Stretch and fold. And always give it a gentle pat when you fold it. Now, a lot of bakers want to stop here and give it a rest for 30 minutes. But I don't like to do that. I want to keep doing the stretch and fold. And there's a reason for it. I want the dough to tell me when to stop. Stretch and fold. Gently tap it. Turn another 1/4. And I notice my dough is starting to let loose of the bowl. So that's what I'm watching for. Stretch. Look, it's pulling loose. Dough's wanting me to stop. Fold it over, pat it. Form it into a little ball, and cover it up again and let it rest for 30 minutes. So I'll be back in 30 minutes where we're going to do the same thing all over again. Well, we're now in step 3, session 2. And we'll start out just like we did before. Uncover your bowl, and you'll see a big difference in the bowl. Not the bowl, but the dough. Wet your hand down, because we're going to do the same thing this time that we did last time. Pull the bread up, or the dough up, so you can get a hold of it. Grab it, pull and stretch until it looks like it doesn't want to go any further. Then fold it over. Give it a pat. Turn your bowl 1/4 turn. Grab it, stretch. Fold and tap. Turn the bowl 1/4 turn. Grab the dough, pull it up, fold over. Turn the bowl 1/4 turn. Grab it, stretch. Don't want to pull it too far because you don't want to break it. Fold and tap. Turn your bowl 1/4. Grab the whole dough, stretch, fold, tap. Remember, you want to keep doing this until the dough lets go of the bowl. Stretch, fold, tap. Fold, stretch. Oh, that's as far as it's going to go. It came out of the bowl. So fold it over and tap. Want to have kind of a ball there in your bowl. Cover it up. Let it rest for 30 minutes. And I'll see you in 30 minutes. Well, we're ready to start part 3, session 3. Pretty much like the last 2 sessions. Uncover our bowl. Look at the dough. It should look a whole lot better. Each step we take makes it look better. Make sure your hand you're going to use is watered. And here we go. Reach in, grab your dough. Pull up, stretch, but don't break the dough. Fold it over, tap it. Turn your bowl 1/4 turn. Grab your dough, stretch, but don't break the dough. Fold it over, tap. Turn your bowl 1/4 turn. Grab your dough, stretch, but not too far. Fold over, tap. Turn your bowl 1/4 turn. Grab your dough, stretch, but not too far. Fold over, tap. Remember, we do not stop with 4 stretches. We want to keep going until the dough releases the bowl. Grab the dough, stretch, but not too far. Fold over, tap. 1/4 turn of the bowl, stretch, but not too far. Fold over, tap. Turn the bowl 1/4 turn. Stretch, but not too far. It's just about ready to release. Fold over and tap. Grab your dough, stretch, and it's releasing. That's what we're looking for. Lay it back down, fold it over, tap, and make sure you have a ball-like form, as we've been doing, right in the middle of the bowl. We've got one more stretch and pull. We need to cover this up and let it rest for 30 minutes. And we'll come back and do one more round of stretch and folds. Well, we're back for session 4, part 3. This is our very last stretch and fold. We want to take the cover off of our bowl, take a look at our dough, and our dough looks really good. Oh, need to put water on our hands, just one hand, because that's all we're going to hold it with. And get started. Pull, stretch, but not too hard. Fold and tap. Turn the bowl 1/4 turn. Grab a hold of the dough. Pull, stretch, fold, and then tap. Turn the bowl 1/4 turn. Grab the dough. Pull, stretch, fold over, tap. Turn the bowl 1/4 turn. Grab the dough. Pull and stretch, but not too much. Fold over and tap. Turn the bowl another 1/4 turn. Grab the dough. Pull and stretch. Fold over, tap. Turn the bowl 1/4 turn. Grab the dough. Pull and stretch. And it's getting pretty tight now, so I can't stretch it as far as I've been stretching it. Fold, tap. Turn the bowl 1/4 turn. Grab the dough. Pull, stretch, fold. Turn the bowl 1/4 turn. Grab the dough. Pull, stretch. And it's coming loose, so it's worked out as much as it wants to work out. Now, I'm going to take my dough and put it in a proofing bowl. Now, if you don't have a proofing bowl, that's okay. You can use the bowl that you've been using. I just like to use a clear proofing bowl so I can see what's happening to my dough. And there we are. Now, what we're about to do, we want to cover this up, and we're going to let it set for 3 up to 6 hours. Now, everybody's situation is different. There's a difference in temperature. There's just a difference in so many things. So you need to watch your dough. You do not want to time your dough here, but you want to watch it. So we're actually in part 4 right now. It's the bulk formation. And technically, bulk formation starts when you get all your ingredients mixed together. But when we get to this stage, it's also called the bulk fermentation. This is the stage, again, that most bakers refer to as bulk fermentation. After you complete the final stretch and fold session, make sure your dough is shaped into a smooth ball. You can leave it in your mixing bowl, as we said, and you got to be sure and cover it, or you can transfer it to a clear proofing container like I have done here, and I've covered it. This way I can easily monitor the dough's progress. Now comes the waiting period. And depending on your room temperature, the strength of your starter, and other environmental factors, this stage can take anywhere from 3 to 6 hours. Every kitchen is different. In my case, I have found that my dough is usually ready after about 3 hours. So rather than watching the clock, it's more important to watch your dough. So I know that I can uncover my dough in 3 hours and take a look at it and see how it's doing. There are 5 signs I look for to know when bulk fermentation is complete. Number 1, the dough has increased in volume. Now, the dough should increase in size by approximately 30% to 75%. You do not want to double its size. A doubled dough is often a sign of over fermentation. I like to aim for about 50% increase, which is a safe target for most beginners. Number 2, the dough has a slight dome. Now, if you look at my dough right now, it's still in ball form, but as it rests here, it's going to spread out, cover the entire bottom of the bowl, and then it's going to start growing up. When it starts growing up, it forms a dome. So at that time, you want to look at the top of your dough. If it appears flat, it may need more time. If it has started sinking in the middle, you've probably gone past the ideal point. What you're looking for is a gentle domed top. Number 3, it passes the jiggle test. What's the jiggle test? You give the bowl a gentle shake like that. The dough should be wobbly, or should wobble slightly, I should say, almost like custard or gelatin. If it sits stiff and motionless, it likely needs more fermentation time. Number 4, small bubbles are visible. Look around the sides of the bowl and on top of the dough. You should see small to medium-sized bubbles. These are signs that fermentation is active and healthy. Large bubbles or huge air pockets can indicate over-fermentation. Number 5, it passes the finger poke test. Lightly press a wet finger down into the dough. If the indentation slowly springs back about halfway, your dough is ready. If it springs back immediately, it needs more time. If it doesn't spring back at all, it may be over-fermented. When your dough passes all 5 of these tests, you're ready to move on to step 5. And so we're going to let our bowl of dough rest now for at least 3 hours. So I'll be back in 3 hours, and we'll check my dough then and see what happens. See you in 3 hours. All right, we're ready to begin checking our dough. Let's uncover it. And it's raised to the point that we like it to be raised. It looks real good. If you look at it, the top has a slight dome to it. I don't know if the camera is showing that or not, but it's got a slight dome to it. Okay, the dough has increased in volume the way we want it to. That's point number 1. Point number 2, we want to make sure the top has a slight dome to it, which it has. Point number 3, passes the jiggle test. And it does. Point number 4, there's small bubbles visible. I don't know if you can see it on the top or not, but there's a few bubbles on the top, and there's all kinds of bubbles on the bottom. It passes the finger poke test. And it passes that test. And we want to see if it pulls away from the sides of the bowl. And it looks like it does. And I want to put some water on my fingers so I see how easily it pulls away from the sides of the bowl. It's pulling away from the sides of the bowl real good. So that means we want to take it out of the bowl. But now we need to do our pre-shaping. See how easily it's coming out of the bowl? It's slowly coming. It's letting go. And that's what we want. We have a little bit of dough left in here. We want to get that. And there now. We want to spray both of our hands now. Because now we need to pre-shape it. And to pre-shape it, we want to bring it down, fold it over, fold it over again, and then pull the bottom up. Need a little bit more water here. You see how easily it's and nicely it's stretching. And we're still stretching. We don't want to stretch it so much that it breaks. But we want it to have a nice stretch to it. We just about got it the way we want it. Now we need a tea towel so that we can cover it up. It looks beautiful. Now we want to cover it up with a tea towel and let it sit for 20 minutes. Well, 20 minutes is up, and before we uncover our dough, we're going to put some rice flour on our banneton. And if you don't have rice flour, that's okay. You can use regular flour. I just use rice flour because it's simpler to use and does a better job than than regular flour. Banneton's just fine. We'll uncover our dough, and it looks great. So next thing we're going to do is put some flour on the top of the dough. Looks like I need to get a little bit more flour. There we go. And we do this because we're going to turn our dough over, and we want the flour on the top. Okay, there it is. So we're going to take our bench scraper, put a little water on it, and get a hold of our dough and turn it over, because we want the sticky part on top now. Water on both hands, and we're going to start final shaping our dough. And we don't want to stretch it out so much that it breaks, but we do need to stretch it out so we can have the shape of a rectangle. Okay, now we want to fold this over in thirds, stretch it out, fold it in thirds, press it down, not real hard, but press it down. And now take the other side up a third. And we want to take the bottom of our flour here, not flour but dough, stretch it, and pull it up. Stretch it the other side and pull it up. Now then, we're ready to place the dough in our banneton, because it's the right shape and everything now. And there we go. And we're getting ready to do the final stage where we flour Now notice I did turn this over.
So the seam's on the bottom, on the top, I mean. The seam's on the top.
I forgot to turn it over.
Oh. So.
And we want the seam, all the seams up on top. Okay. For some reason on that step, I always want to do it just the opposite way. Want plenty of rice flour or regular flour on the dough, because we're going to cover the dough up with our shower cap. Just like that. And we'll raise it up just a little bit. So in case there we go. Now it's ready to go in the refrigerator for 12 hours. That's right, that's what I said, 12 hours. And once 12 hours is up, it will be ready to bake. And the reason why we put the dough in the refrigerator for 12 hours is it's going to continue rising a little bit, but it does it slower in the refrigerator. And this is what helps make the sourdough bread that much more tasty.
And it's better, healthier for you.
And also it helps it make it healthier for you, as my wife just said. At this point, our dough has completed its bulk fermentation, been shaped, and then placed into the refrigerator for a 12-hour cold fermentation. I love cold fermenting my dough because it improves the flavor, makes the dough easier to handle, and helps produce a better score and a more defined ear on the finished loaf. When you're ready to bake, remove the dough from the refrigerator. I like to score and bake my loaf while it's still cold. The colder dough is firmer and much easier to score evenly. Before removing the dough from the refrigerator, make sure your oven and Dutch oven have been preheated to 450 degrees Fahrenheit. I place my Dutch oven in the oven while it preheats so it becomes thoroughly heated. We need to carefully turn the cold dough onto a sheet of parchment paper. But before that, I want to take my parchment paper and crumple it up. That way there's no sharp edges that will deform the bread. Now, because the dough is cold, it should hold its shape well and be easier to work with. Boy, that dough looks good. Almost forgot how I do this. Now it's time to score the dough. See, scoring gives the bread a place to expand during baking. So, using a bread lamb like this, you can use a razor blade or even a sharp knife, but I don't really recommend the knife. You make one long score approximately 1/2 inch deep along the top of the loaf, like this. Just want to make sure you get a good deep cut. And now we're ready. I prefer a simple score because it consistently gives me the best chance of producing a nice ear and good oven spring. And my wife's helping me out. And in case you didn't know it, I'm disabled and working out of a electric wheelchair. So once the loaf has been scored carefully, lowered into the hot Dutch oven using the parchment paper as handles. Here we go. Now there's a couple steps I also take. I want to spray the dough with water. This aids in producing the steam needed and also put 4 ice cubes behind the parchment paper. And that also helps produce the steam that's needed to producing the steam needed to produce a good loaf of bread. My wife reminded me I needed to use the term it helps produce a good oven spring. So we placed the lid on the Dutch oven and returned it to the oven. Now this needs to be baked covered at 450 degrees Fahrenheit for 20 minutes. During this stage, the trapped steam inside the Dutch oven helps the loaf rise and develop a beautiful crust. Then after the first 20 minutes is over, we will carefully remove the lid. And we need to remember to be cautious because a burst of hot steam will escape when that lid is removed. Then we will continue baking uncovered for an additional 20 minutes or until the loaf develops a rich golden brown. That is crust. After 20 minutes, we carefully remove the lid, and you need to be cautious because of the steam that will escape. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And now we're going to put it back in the oven, uncovered, and continue baking it uncovered for an additional 20 minutes or until the loaf develops a rich golden brown crust. We also have a baking thermometer here. When it comes out of the oven for the final time, we'll use this thermometer to verify that it's done. And the temperature of the bread's interior will be between 205 degrees and 210 degrees to verify that it's done. And we will show you that in about 20 minutes. Well, we're pulling the bread out of the oven right now. At least my wife is. And she'll bring it here in just a minute. 208 degrees, so it is completely cooked. And now we need to remove it from the Dutch oven and place it on the cooling rack.
The oven is hot.
Wow. Nice ear, nice spring, nice and golden brown. And we're going to put it up here on the cooling rack. And that little cooling rack we got from Temu, and it's worked out beautifully. Now comes the hardest part. You're wondering what it is? Waiting to cut the bread open. You see, you need to allow the bread to cool for at least 1 hour before slicing. This gives the crumb time to finish setting and will reward you with a much better texture when you finally cut into it. Once the loaf is cooled, we'll slice it open and see how our simple 60% hydrated sourdough bread turned out. Keep watching. We'll be back in 1 hour. Well, friends, we've reached my favorite part of the entire sourdough process. This loaf of bread, this loaf has been cooling on the rack for about an hour, and it's finally time to see what happened inside. As tempting as it was to cut into it right away, allowing the loaf to cool gives the crumb time to finish setting. If you cut it too soon, the inside can be gummy and all of your hard work won't be reflected in the final result. Let's take a look at this loaf before we cut it. I'm really pleased with the way it turned out. It has a beautiful golden brown crust. It has a beautiful golden ear. Try that again. It has a beautiful golden crust, a nice ear from the score, and some good oven spring. For a simple 60% hydration dough, this loaf looks fantastic. Now for the moment of truth. But before we do that, I want to do one other thing. Hear that? Sounds hollow inside. This is how it's supposed to sound. Now I'm going to take my bread knife and make a slice right through the center. Listen to that crust crackle as a knife goes through. That's always a good sign. Let's open it up and see what we've got. Beautiful. Take a look at that crumb. We have a nice even structure throughout the loaf. The holes aren't too large and they're not too tight. This is exactly the kind of crumb many beginners should be aiming for. One of the reasons I like a 60% hydration recipe is that it produces a loaf that's easy to handle and still gives excellent results. You don't need an extremely wet dough to make great sourdough bread. The crumb looks fully baked, the texture is soft, and the loaf has maintained a beautiful, beautiful shape. Of course, the final test is always the taste test. Well, let's see if we can get a taste of it. The crust has a nice crunch. The crumb is soft and it's tender. And the flavor has that mild sourdough tang that comes from the overnight cold fermenting. From a simple, beginner-friendly recipe, I'd call this loaf a success. And that's our simple 60% hydration sourdough loaf from start to finish. I hope this video shows you that great sourdough doesn't have to be complicated. Sometimes the simplest recipes are the best place to begin. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to our channel and leave a comment down below. I'd love to hear about your sourdough baking adventures. Thank you for watching Alan's Sourdough Adventures. Until next time, keep your starter happy, keep baking, and keep enjoying the journey. God bless, and I'll see you in the next video.